for joining us here at Techonomy, Constance. Now tell us, what are you doing right now?
Sure, so we just launched at iCrossing a program called the Collaboratory, which is designed to bring our brands closer to those who are disrupting their categories. So taking a household brand like Toyota and bringing them into a brainstorming session or what we call an innovation summit with the boldest disruptors in automotive and in digital to transform the way they connect with millennials.
What kind of disruptors do you seek when you have those sessions?
Sure. So our first session with Toyota was out in Palm Springs in February, and we brought together 40 startups from every sort of sector of the technology and marketing ecosystem. So from sort of ad tech, those who are changing the way an advertiser might exist online, to those who are changing the way consumers connect with their devices or the internet broadly from their car. So startups such as Dash, which connects your car to the internet. If the creative diaspora, which really makes up anyone who is a creative thinker, if that used to be in creative advertising and the arts and publishing, today that landscape exists still in advertising, still in publishing, and also in the startup community and technology. And so the Collaboratory is designed to bring all of those sort of brightest minds, if you will, into one room to solve existing challenges.
So the presumption then in bringing these disruptors together with big marketers is that things are changing so fast that if they do things the old way, they could be at risk?
I think that the reason for it, or the purpose behind it, is that the way we solve problems today is that we look at the opportunity to connect with the consumer, and the consumer today is adopting new platforms, new technologies, new ways of existing so rapidly that if a household brand like Kellogg's wants to connect with those individuals, they can either disrupt your experience by placing ads where you are, or we would recommend you sit down with the product challenge you're facing and the platform where your consumer is spending time and come together to make an idea that is founded on improving the customer experience. Consumers today value content over anything else, and content is really founded on a big idea. Those big ideas could come from anywhere.
So what you're doing has a lot to do with this trend that is increasingly discussed of marketers becoming publishers.
The opportunity to collaborate with big publishers such as AOL or Yahoo, or even Elle.com or Esquire.com, you actually come up with better ideas from an editorial perspective if you sit together and come up with a content program rather than using a publisher as an opportunity to disrupt customer experience.
But you're going beyond that, it seems like, because if that was all they were doing, it wouldn't be necessary to have these big brainstorming sessions.
Right. So the idea behind these innovation summits is that by bringing odd bedfellows, if you will, all together, the ideas that will emerge are going to be stronger than what you would do on your own. It used to be true that an ad agency or a creative agency was sort of the exclusive province of big ideas. And you would take those big ideas to a publisher, and your brand, even 5 years ago, could then be the publisher in what's now called native advertising, what was probably advertorial. And the opportunity going forward is to create a content experience for brands where consumers are actually gaining experience. It's been said often that consumers want valuable content or something that's interesting, and if what's interesting is an ad, so be it. I think that that's true going forward. The interesting thing is when you add a layer of technology to that. There's a startup that I absolutely adore based in San Francisco. They're about 8 months old. They're called Stellar, Steller, and they, I think, are transforming what a brand as publisher looks like going forward. They're not looking at tweets and Facebook posts and YouTube videos. They're looking at how you take existing pieces of content and merge them into micro stories. And so you can create, as a brand or an individual, a photo, video, text-based little object that you could then share anywhere online. And the beauty of that is that it gives creatives an opportunity to package the story they want to tell, rather than trying to do it through 100 Facebook posts or 100 tweets. It gives you a little container.
The approach that you're adopting sort of presumes that the more multidisciplinary the discussion that a corporate decision maker makes, in this case it is for marketing, but I wonder whether you think that what we're really heading toward is a world where no matter what kind of decision these big companies are taking, they're probably going to benefit by running it by or evolving it even in a more multidisciplinary context.
Sure. I mean, I think the real question is, will marketers become responsible for revenue, technology, and where does that intersection lie? I would say that increasingly CMOs or chief marketing officers will become CEOs, and they'll be responsible for revenue across many lines of business, because ultimately the product that you sell is the product that becomes the importance of your business. So if you're at Unilever and what sells off the shelves is prepackaged snacks, then that becomes your line of business. If you've been marketing prepackaged snacks for 20 years, how you sell that will change, and that's marketing.
How much will product development and marketing effectively merge? Because if you're really communicating, you're also taking messaging back, which changes what you do, right? Mm-hmm.
So the feedback loop for product is really interesting. You could use the data from any sort of digital marketing campaign to inform your product thread. We did this with Toyota in our innovation session, actually, where the opportunity for Toyota to connect with millennials was based on listening to what consumers wanted, and then taking those desires and plugging it into the product pipeline.
That's a lot different than traditional marketing, obviously.
Absolutely, but it makes the sort of return on your investment more valuable.
Talk a little bit about how you think of the utility right now of Facebook, Twitter, or any other super cutting edge things I might not be thinking of.
In terms of Facebook and Twitter, they're huge, powerful platforms that are brilliant for marketers. The opportunity is to take the canvas and come up with an idea that will shine within that particular place, and then use the media to amplify those ideas. Working really closely with Twitter right now on a campaign, and the opportunity is simply around a live event. It's just like a one client thing. But I think the utility of Twitter is to share your ideas, if you will, with more people. In the instance of Facebook, the beauty at this point in terms of its utility is absolutely in mobile. So if you're looking to connect with someone on the go, the place to do that is through Facebook.
Could you give a few examples of other kinds of companies that you are helping and just what you're doing for them?
Sure. Last week I spent half the day at Google Glass with a healthcare client, experimenting with the ways in which Google Glass could change the way they service their clients. So right now, a client comes in for a consultation, asks questions about education. This patient could now use Glass to simulate what their procedure will look like. And then after their procedure, they spend some time in this medical facility. They're going to use Glass to go through physical therapy.
Wait, so the patient puts Glass on, not the person working with them?
The patient uses Glass to go through sort of a simulation, if you will.
Is the idea that you'd have more of an immersive experience with Glass than with a typical computer that you're looking at the screen?
I think the idea is that you could simulate in your body the movements that are going to change. So you can use Glass to watch a video and be instructed in an annotated video, so that you can experience what it will feel like to move at the same time. If you're watching from a computer, you're seated in a chair, and if Glass, if the computer were to tell you, move your arm, you would be seated in a chair. Whereas if you're standing with Glass, or you're outside with Glass, or you're standing on some sort of motion detecting device, you can sort of engage more easily.
So is this healthcare client likely to end up using Google Glass in their offering?
Yeah, the next step is to go through sort of the initial idea phase and narrow down the objects that are going to be best used with glass.
I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about Google Glass generally. Now, do you see it as a major innovation? Is it one of a number of things? Are you focusing in on that in particular, or just it happened to be something you used with one client recently?
So in the Collaboratory, we approach the technology or the partnerships based on the business challenge. So in that particular instance, they're looking to solve a particular problem. I think wearables in general are a huge category for the intersection of technology and humanity as sort of a grand statement. But as we have seen the sort of quantifiable self pick up mainstream participation and attention, I think we're moving into a place where whether or not glass is the end-all be-all of connecting your body to the internet, I think it's an incredibly powerful tool for creative ideas. The use cases are light. You can't easily ride a bike and wear glass at the same time and perform function, but the ability to keep moving through your day and send text messages or respond to emails, that's a beautiful innovation.
Since you have a lot of experience now with Google Glass, do you anticipate a day when large numbers of people are routinely wearing it or something like it, just as the normal course of events?
Yes, I do. I think that the sort of trajectory of wearables is headed towards something that is connected absolutely to your eyes, because the more hands-free we can be, the better. I mean, it was a natural progression from Bluetooth headsets to, a piece of eyewear.
In the landscape of media and marketing today, what is the most important change that very few people understand?
I would say the intersection of technology and creativity.
Meaning what?
Meaning that if you can relinquish a little control and let really big creative ideas and unknown technology inform the future and inform the way you make decisions, your ideas will be stronger. So I think here's a very simple example. If you look at the work of I really admire developers. I think that engineers who are building code all day see the world in a very different way than marketers or journalists or, even artists. And when they're trying to solve a problem, they look through many different languages in order to get the result you're looking for. That's taking advantage of the side of their brain that's truly creative and taking advantage of pure technology to get to the best result. That's a beautiful combination.